Ohio State had its chances, but couldn't finish the job in a 13-10 loss to Indiana in the Big Ten championship.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to Locked On Buckeyes Live after Ohio State's 13-10 loss to Indiana in the Big Ten championship. This show is a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, now the #1 sports podcast network. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, veteran sports talk host, delivering passionate coverage about your Buckeyes. And this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. During this live reaction show to the Buckeyes' loss in the Big Ten title game, we'll discuss what's next for Ohio State after today's loss, as well as some issues the Buckeyes didn't fix that have been there the entire season. But first, the first thing I think about in this game, when I look at the final score, is what happened last year, Thanksgiving weekend. Never did I think that this score would be the outcome of another Ohio State game and one that Ohio State was going to lose. But Ohio State got outplayed. The Buckeyes got outcoached. The Buckeyes had their chances to win this game, but they did not capitalize on two opportunities in the third and fourth quarters to put points on the board. The Julian Sayin QB sneak that, unfortunately, his knee went down like he slipped. His knee went down. That one resulted in a turnover on downs via the replay that happened later on. It was a fourth down stop, and you're thinking, this is not the Ohio State that you would think, but all season long, this goes into something we're going to dive into a little bit later. All season long, there have been some red zone issues. There have been some issues that Ohio State has not fixed and overcome, and it came up today. Indiana is a good team. I'm not going to go any further without realizing that the team that just won today is going to be the #1 team in the college football playoff, and they hands down beat Ohio State. Offensively, the Buckeyes could not move the ball. They couldn't run the ball at all. Now, there were times that you thought they could get some creases and they could get some things shaken, but they couldn't do anything consistently. Now, Bo Jackson, via the numbers, 4.9 yards a pop. Yes, that's good, but how often was the Buckeyes offense on the field? I mean, there was times that Indiana, they dominated the time of possession. I haven't even looked at it yet. They had more total yards than Ohio State. If you want to look by the numbers, the total yardage is not a large amount more than the Buckeyes, but you look and you're thinking, Indiana, they were doing things that you expected Ohio State to do in this game. And actually, the time possession was a little bit different. It was almost even. And while I'm watching the game, I have a good feeling like, oh, Indiana is dominating in certain areas, and Ohio State is not able to overcome them. Yes, there was a big hit earlier by Caden Curry, which I thought that was him setting the tone early with the physicality that the Buckeyes are going to bring. There were some plays where Omar Cooper Jr., starting receiver for Indiana, left the game. So I'm thinking, okay, you got a big hit, you have an injury. What's going to happen next? The Buckeyes offense couldn't get off the field. The defense couldn't get off the field. The offense could not get into a flow, and you got outplayed. You got outcoached. And I'm going to make a statement here that might seem a little crazy. Buy a better team. You play to win the game, and this game, 1 versus 2 for the Big Ten title, the outcome of this game was truly the better team was going to win. Not no fluke play or nothing like that. The better team was going to win. And Ohio State wasn't better. Julian Sayin had to make some plays down the stretch. You could tell early on he couldn't clearly see the defense. He couldn't clearly see what was happening. Well, part of that was also because he had to rush his internal clock because he did not have time in the pocket to quickly read and then take some more time to digest and then find the open man. Hats off to the Hoosiers defense and their secondary and their linebackers for making things difficult for Sayin. Hats off to their front four for getting pressure on Sayin, especially with them bringing blitzers. The offense, the running game of the Hoosiers, did what was needed to happen. Mendoza is probably going to win the Heisman Trophy. There are things that you thought Ohio State was going to do in this game with their approach on offense being very efficient. Do you think they were efficient? Let me know in the comments on this video because I would love to hear your thoughts about how Ohio State played. The 13-10 loss. You don't want to get emotional about losing a game like this because there is more of the the season isn't over. Also, it's not like the Michigan game where that's a super high emotional thing. But there's one thought I have. I got a notebook next to me, but we're not going to use that right now. It's just you and I talking today. Ryan Day all season has said that there are 3 goals that Ohio State has: beat Michigan, win the Big Ten title, and to win the national championship. And when your head coach says those are your 3 goals, then that's how you have to measure the team when you analyze them. And in this game, you would have thought there would have been a better approach offensively. Maybe you would have stuck with your lead back, and maybe in short yardage, was it the 4th down stop? I would have thought on 3rd down, you give the ball to Bo Jackson. But there are things that when you say, oh, these are our goals: we beat Michigan, win the Big Ten title, and then to win the national championship, you checked one box. But during this week, there were some distractions. Now, you knew there was going to be one distraction automatically, knowing the early signing period was Wednesday through Friday, right before the Saturday Big Ten title game. You got notice on, midnight on Tuesday that Hartline was going to kind of entertaining, but potentially going to take the head job at USF. And then those distractions were something that was on the heels of beating Michigan for the first time since 2019, snapped a 4-game losing streak to them. And I don't want to say that those things became major distractions, but they did. Those were distractions, and you could tell during the game, it seemed like something wasn't flowing like normal. Well, throughout the season, you didn't have those distractions. These aren't excuses. This is just reality. There were things that happened throughout the week that maybe stopped the preparation, or maybe some people were playing double duty. I don't know. But I think that was a big play in this game where IU had some recruiting stuff going on like everybody else in the country did. I don't know. I don't follow their coaching. Maybe they had a coach leave and take another job throughout this week. I don't know. But I do know that Ohio State had distractions. But those distractions could not be something that was so big and clouding you while preparing for a game against Indiana and the Big Ten title game, when you have said all year you are here to win this game. These guys hadn't been to Indianapolis, these guys on the team. And so you use that same line when you were talking about the game against Michigan and how the game against Michigan, these guys don't have a pair of gold pants. They have them now, but also these guys went to Indianapolis. They don't have a Big Ten championship. And this reminds me of something that happened a lot over the past few years, where Ryan Day would say certain things, or I believe in Ryan Day. Like, I get, like, this game is not the end of the season. In this game, while it stings because you lost a game that you were good enough, well, you think you're good enough to win, this game is weird because I'm having a feeling of a sense of deja vu, and maybe you are too, where we've heard this before, but what we're hearing that might happen isn't happening. It just has a cycle of over and over and over. Now, Ryan Day has done a great job of making sure that those things in this season that were obstacles previously aren't obstacles, but Ohio State's slow offensive approach wasn't great for this game. Sayin was not able to take what the defense gave him because he was on his back a lot this game. The defense couldn't get off the field. The defense could not overcome and figure out how to slow down Mendoza and how to not allow number 80 to make big catches throughout the game. Hats off to him as well. I mean, there are numerous guys on the Hoosiers that made big plays, but this game feels weird. It feels odd to be here on this show right now, knowing there's more football to play this year, but also realizing Ohio State had a shot to win the Big Ten title in 2025, and unfortunately, they couldn't finish the job. And I'm not blaming Jaden Fielding for missing a 27-yard field goal. I am not doing that, because you know what Ryan Day said last year? Leave no doubt. Leave no doubt when you're on the field. And you know what they did? What they did today? They left doubt. They did not let their play secure the win. They did not take control of certain things. They didn't seize the moment. They left doubt. And Indiana took advantage of the doubt Ohio State left on the field. Speaking of the doubt Ohio State left on the field, Ohio State had some issues all season long that they were slow to fix, and some issues they didn't fix. And they came up and they hurt Ohio State in this game. We will dive into some of those after the break. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the action. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, and every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Thank you all for tapping and Locked on Buckeyes live after Ohio State's 13-10 loss to Indiana in the Big Ten title game, and for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. What are some of your thoughts about this loss? Is it a big deal to you? Do you care? Is it something that is just going to roll off your back? I could never happen. What are your thoughts instantly reacting to the Buckeyes' 3-point loss to Indiana in the Big Ten title game? And I never thought in my lifetime, at least as an adult, I would ever experience Ohio State losing to IU. Never. Never at all. I was born in Fort Wayne, Indiana. The last time Ohio State lost to IU, I was an infant. I was born in June of that year. That game was in the fall, so I had only been on the earth for just a few months, and so I was not able to. If my parents watched it, I don't remember it because my brain was not able to do those things back then. But in this game, I thought that there was a chance Ohio State was going to win. I documented that all week. I thought for sure Ohio State had more than enough in their bag, in their power to win this game. But all season, there have been some issues. One of them being red zone scoring and punching the ball in the red zone. That didn't happen. But also, something on the offensive line that had been a problem all season came up once again. And my wife pointed it out early. I try my best to keep my thoughts about this very thing to myself, but I wasn't able to. My wife was a very good analyst when watching it and thinking, why is he having the issues he's having that he's had all season long? And I'm talking about Tegra Tshabola. Tegra was an issue in this game, and it wasn't just in pass pro. Some of the issues in run blocking were partly because there was one player, it was a run left. Tegra's pulling him around from the right to the left. And there have been times where he is supposed to be the lead blocker, that he does not quickly stay tight to the line and then go into the hole to become the lead blocker. He goes outside and then takes a longer route to cut inside. And what that does, it allows a scraping linebacker from the backside to come over who is seeing Tegra pulling around. They're following the offensive lineman, and they're able to stop the play. There were moments in this game in pass pro. We're looking at Tegra Tshabola and thinking, we should have fixed this months ago. And I say we as far as Ohio State fans and Ohio State coaches. The coaches should have fixed this months ago, but they didn't. And in this game, IU had, let's look at it, they had 5 sacks. They had 9 tackles for loss. That's not great. That's not great at all. It's actually preventable. Now, you say they did that against Oregon. That is true. However, I think Ohio State's better than Oregon. And I'm not going to say like how many points they would beat Oregon by, but I think Ohio State is better than Oregon. Their offensive line had a good game last week, probably the best game of the year. We could go against Michigan. And so we saw not only the offensive line play well, you saw Tegra play well. And what did you see today? Tegra was a problem. Now, also, it wasn't just Tegra. There was a play where the communication was an error between him and Carson Hinsman. There were some times that Phillip Daniels got beat. The right side of the offensive line had been an issue. But the Buckeyes, for some reason, did not fix that issue, and Indiana took advantage of it. Like I said, hats off to the coaches. Whatever you want to say about Cignetti, I know there was a look that he had after the game where I am looking at that man thinking, this is going to puff up your head even more because this is what you needed to feed your ego. And I'm not saying this to someone that's just like an outside observer. I have listened to a lot of Curt Cignetti talk and seen some pressers, and he just has that, boom, a head that's pretty big, and this feeds that ego. But he did what was needed to win the game. And when Ohio State decided, well, Josh Padilla's hurt, well, Gabe Van Sickle wasn't hurt, but we're going to roll with Tegra a little bit more. Then all of a sudden against Michigan, really good game. So we're going to roll with him a little bit deeper into this game in the Big Ten title game. The moment Tegra started having issues, it should have been a quick buddy, you're out, put somebody else back in. You guys watch basketball. You know when a basketball coach sees something and starts to sense, homie just isn't all the way there in the head, or he's slipping a little bit, or maybe he's just not good enough. Nope. You pull him out, you put somebody else back in, or maybe you keep him on the court. You can't guard number 3. He's too quick for you. You go back there and guard number 50. You're thinking number 50, he's slow. I understand that. He's too quick for you. You guard number 50. You change your defensive cover, your defensive man-to-man scheme up to put different guys out there to make sure the right guys are guarding the right guys. Well, in this game, Indiana took advantage of the Buckeyes' offensive line issues that have been there all season, and this is a result. Also, something else that has been an issue really all season is not just the passes up the seams. Outside zone has been an issue, and normally the Buckeyes are able to fix that issue after drives 2 and 3. So the first drive of the game, you might get a little bit, and then drives 2 and 3, you're able to fix it, and it's not a problem the rest of the game. I wonder what would have happened if Jordan Marshall, I'm not saying Ohio State would have lost to Michigan. I'm not saying that at all. But what if Jordan Marshall didn't get banged up or didn't come into the game banged up and he was fully healthy? Would Ohio State have been able to overcome the outside run against Jordan Marshall a week ago? Because Dahl being in the game is a little bit different than Marshall, because Marshall is clearly the better back. But in this game, they weren't able to really dial up the right play calls and the right coverages with the receivers of Indiana. They weren't able to slow down the rushing attack in ways that you assume they would. These issues have been there all year. Hemby had 52 rushing yards. Black had 69 rushing yards. They averaged Hemby 4 yards a pop, Black 4.3 yards a pop. That's all you really need in a game like this. You don't need to have 5 or 6. You simply need to move a little bit better and just simply get those yards. Now, Black had a 37-yard run. Hemby had a 10-yard run. But what did you notice? The defense couldn't get off the field. You had guys that were getting picked on. Lorenzo Styles Jr., Devin Sanchez got picked on at one time. Matthews Jr. got picked on. Now, Matthews Jr. really wasn't picked on, but he was struggling in the game. But when they needed a play, when you knew that Mendoza may throw a ball, was there help over the top of the safety? There wasn't. Some things came up tonight that hadn't been issues mainly all season. Some things came up today that were issues. In Ohio State, in real time, or even prior to the start of the game, they didn't fix the issues. And it's not a good feeling at all. It's not good. It's weird. I'm going to say this again. Being here in a moment where people all week have said, does this game matter? It matters because you have told us that this game matters, that winning the Big Ten title 100% matters. You have said numerous times, these guys are ready to play. There's a businessman-like approach. Even in short yardage situations where when you're saying things matter, you're thinking, okay, these things matter, but you're fixing the details in real time in practice. They're not. I like that they used Bo Jackson a little bit more in this game. I was not a fan of them still using 4 running backs when it was clear Donaldson being out there was kind of a decoy. I don't like it at all. He even got a break on the pass where the throwback pass from Brandon Ennis to the right side where I thought he was going to throw deep. That was taken up, where secondary of Indiana really covered up and didn't allow there to be many open passes in this game. He got bailed out because it was a low block on, I forget the lineman's name that had the low block on Phillip Daniels, but Ohio State still didn't capitalize. The Buckeyes had the ball 3rd and 1 inside their own 5 at the end of the third quarter, didn't get any points. They had the ball 3rd and 1 inside the 10-yard line, didn't get any points. The red zone scoring has been an issue all year. It's still here. Offensive line issues, it's been an issue at times all year. They haven't fixed those either. Pulled the plug on Tegra a little bit too late. And then also some stuff on defense, outside zone, really having great technique in one-on-one situations. That stuff's been there all year. Hadn't fixed it. And this is the result. The result, a 13-10 loss to Indiana in the Big Ten title game. And coming up after the break, it's a weird point in the show because there's more life And Ohio State has a shot to win a Big Ten title. And do I think that the result of this game will have the same result of last year's Michigan loss? I don't know, but it could have the same result for the Buckeyes in the future. This episode is brought to you by Aura Frames. The holidays are officially here, which means gift hunting season is on. And if you want something meaningful, personal, and guaranteed to get a reaction, Aura Frames is a gift that delivers every time. It's not just something you wrap, it's a way to share memories. Because Aura isn't your average picture frame. You can preload the frame with photos before gifting it, so when they plug it in, the memories are already there. No apps to figure out, no setup headaches, just instant smiles. Grandparents, parents, newlyweds, anyone who loves photos. Endless uploads of pictures and 30-second videos through the Aura app. Add a personalized message right inside the frame so the gift feels thoughtful the moment it's opened. For a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver Mat frames named #1 by Wirecutter by using promo code COLLEGE at checkout. That's AURA, frames.com, promo code COLLEGE. This deal is exclusive to listeners, and frames sell out fast, so order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. A few minutes ago, I mentioned that Ohio State mission last year in the postseason was to leave no doubt. And that was a great motto, and that was a great message for Ryan Day to preach to the veteran leadership that was there with the team when they had that come to Jesus meeting and things really got aired out. Ryan Day was accountable and also vulnerable in front of a lot of 18 to 22-year-old young men that were calling him out and were calling out things that needed to be discussed, because if you want to move forward and win a national championship, everybody has to move in formation, in sync, like you're in the marching band. One person that's messing up, it sticks out like a sore thumb, and it could lead to more people having flaws while you're trying to march and really put on a good show. Well, Ohio State's in a good spot right now because they can still be the #1 team in the country. But, well, Ohio State's not the #1 team in the country. They can still get a bye. But they must move forward realizing we have to leave no doubt. That's it. This literally could have been a preview of the national championship game. And I don't know if many of you, let me know in the comment section right now, I don't know if many of you are looking at this game and thinking, if these two teams meet again, I don't know if you're very confident that Ohio State would win. I have no idea. I think Ohio State can win, but for the second time of the Ryan Day era, at least that I could think about right now, there's a game with a trophy on the line that you leave it up to a kicker to make a point, to put some points on the board. The Georgia game, where Ohio State lost by 1 point. This game, where Ohio State lost by 3 points. Now, the one thing about this game is, this game, it was different because you got the ball back. Only 18 seconds, but you got the ball back. And you still put it in the position of a kicker to put points on the board, and it didn't happen. I'm saying all that to say there's more life for this Buckeye team. And as we're looking right now, the ACC title game is actually in overtime. I know I was rooting for chaos this weekend, not meaning Ohio State being the chaos, but I was kind of rooting for chaos and hoping Duke beat Virginia in the ACC title game, because if that happens, Virginia's not getting in if they lose the ACC title game. Duke is not getting in if they win the ACC title game. So you're probably going to get you could potentially get two G5 schools in the playoff, and that'd be because the 5 highest ranked conference champions are going to get in, which might even make Ohio State's path to winning a national championship potentially a little bit easier. I don't know. I have no idea, but Ohio State could win the national championship. Ohio State has a game, I believe, will probably be on New Year's Day. I don't know the time, because now you're not going to the Rose Bowl. IU's going to the Rose Bowl. First time they're going to the Rose Bowl, and my goodness, I don't know how long. You got to get better, man. You got to get better. And I know myself and Jeff Hunt, a few months ago made some comments about Brian Hartline. I think it was during the second off week, and we said that you got to make some changes now, and Hartline needs to either fix it or call different plays. And I wonder if the slower pace of the offense wasn't just the efficient part that Ryan Day was preaching, but it was because Hartline needed that much time to call plays. Now it was time. There were times this year that he called plays and you're scoring 40 plus a game, and so like you're fine with what he's doing. But man, there were times in this game where you needed the full time to get the play in because things are just moving a little bit slower. There's more life to there's more life in this team. This season isn't over. Sayin is a great quarterback. This is not a knock on anybody, any of the players. We just ran into a team that's better than you. That's it. You ran into a team that is better than you that you might end up playing again, and you must learn from the lesson that you learned in this game. If you want to win, and if you want to accomplish your ultimate goal of winning the national championship, Ryan Day, Brian Hartline, Matt Patricia, Julian Sayin, everybody must learn from the lessons you learned in this game. Some of them are on coaching and preparation. As Ryan Day said, you trust your preparation. I don't know how much you can trust your preparation when this happens, when there are errors. And I think there were some flaws in the preparation for the game. You can trust some players, but you can't trust all players. There were times I'm looking out there, why is Devin Sanchez in the game in this moment? This did not seem like a game for Sanchez. Peyton Pierce being out there at the time, I absolutely understood why that was the case. But Devin Sanchez is good. When you have a good quarterback like Fernando Mendoza and you put one guy in for the first time all game, he's probably going to get picked on. Now, Zion Grady didn't get picked on, but I still want. Now, also, Caden Curry went out for a little bit, went out for a play, I think, and then came back in. But I think he was in before that to give Caden Curry a little bit of a break. You got to realize some lessons are personnel lessons you can learn. Some of them are coaching and preparation throughout the week. Some of them are the physicality. Some of them are getting off to a faster start. We've heard time and time and time again that Ryan Day and this team is going to attack. They're going to we really hadn't heard to get off to a faster start like we did a year ago, which I wish we would have heard that a little bit more because it would have showed a sense of urgency and putting the foot down. We've heard with the words, hey, we're going to attack. We're going to put our foot down on the gas when we needed to. But this was a time to do so. There's a lot of lessons to learn. I have no idea where Ohio State will land in the Big Ten, Duke has a lead. So I have no idea. You're getting this in real time. I have no idea where Ohio State will be in the bracket. They could, to me, they should be the number 2 team. If one versus two game, the Big Ten title game, if it was this close and it was down to a 1-score game and even Ohio State had a shot to win in the final seconds, I don't see a reason why you should jump them, why Georgia should be 2. I don't see that at all. But Buckeyes should, in my eyes, Buckeyes should be 2. Georgia should be 3. Texas Tech 4. Indiana's 1. Those are your 4. Those weren't in the correct order, but those teams should get a first-round bye, which allows Ohio State more time to get healthy, more time to fix your issues, more time to put the lessons you have learned in this game to find a way to put a plan in place so those things don't come up as issues again. And let's just say these two teams meet in Miami Gardens for the national championship. The Buckeyes should be more prepared to play Indiana at that time. Let's remember, both teams had some injury concerns in this game. Yeah, Jeremiah Smith and Cardinal Tate played. Were they fully healthy? I don't know. Indiana lost the guy, but even then, Fernando Mendoza was banged up, so it wasn't like both teams were playing guys that were fully healthy. Mendoza was banged up. He had scrapes on his arm. He got hit in his chest early. Play like a warrior. Ohio State lost. It wasn't a good game. It wasn't a clean game. They didn't have control of the game like they had all season, and they weren't able to regain control of the game. Even when they had the lead at 10-6 at one point, I don't think I know I didn't. I'd be shocked if you felt like Ohio State had control of the game. The one thing I had said about this team all season, there have been 2 constants. Julian Sayin's ability to run the offense efficiently and to overcome obstacles that happen in the game, And the defense is solid and strong, and they may have some things that come up as problems early in the game, but they quickly adjust and shut those things down. Those two things weren't possible, didn't happen in this game, which makes you wonder if these two teams meet in the CFP, if those will be problems once again. Thank you all for tapping in Locked on Buckeyes live after Ohio State's 13-10 loss in the Big Ten title game to Indiana. I know it's a little bit of a different post-game show, but I didn't want to look at my notebook or even run through some numbers. Just kind of get some thoughts off my chest. I was really quiet while watching this game, and I started to get a little annoyed and felt a feeling on the inside this game was not going to go Ohio State's way, even before Jaden Fielding had that kick that went wide left. I had a feeling internally that was like, oh, this is it. It was more of the fourth quarter feeling. Quarters 1 through 3, I had a feeling that Buckeyes were going to be fine, even though it didn't feel like that while watching the game. Oh, man, Duke won the game, so that just puts a whole wrench in the playoff. I know we're live reacted to this. Duke beat Virginia in the ACC title game 27-20. That means Duke is now 8-5. They weren't ranked before. Virginia is now 10-3. They were the number 17 team in the land. We're going to have a interesting playoff selection show tomorrow afternoon at 12. One thing I want to add, we will be live tomorrow afternoon in the middle of the selection show when they announce the bracket, where Ohio State is in the bracket, who they will potentially play, the teams they'll play in the CFP. Because if they don't get a bye, that show is going to be red hot. Be with us tomorrow on the YouTube. This does not replace our regular Monday pod, as we will talk about this game next week and some other things the Buckeyes need to fix before their first game in the college football playoffs. You can follow me on Twitter or any social media platform at jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. Buckeye fans, we're up out of here. The end of the show is a little bit different because I can't make the normal statement that I said earlier, which is, what's the best thing about being 12-0? The chance to go 13-0. Well, they're not undefeated right now, but sometimes a loss is good. It's just unfortunate that it came in this game. I would not be shocked if my early season prediction becomes true that Ohio State is not undefeated this season, which they're not now, and they still win the national championship, which they can still accomplish. We're out of here, Buckeye fans. We will talk tomorrow afternoon in the middle of the selection show when we hear where Ohio State lands in the final CFP rankings and who they might play in the college football playoff.